Video Game Donkey is hosting a game jam through his publishing company, Big Mode. And as the head judge, he's going to be playing the top rated games on stream. My goal is to make it onto that list. Game jams always have a theme that you have to build around. And for this game jam, the theme is power. The first thing that comes to mind is a game where the balance of who has more power shifts throughout the game, kind of like Pac-Man. In Pac-Man, you're running around a maze, avoiding various ghosts until you pick up a certain pellet. Then the tables turn and you can hunt the ghost down you were prey to. My plan is to make a game that is pretty similar in concept with a few changes, such as making it into a first-person shooter, and also changing it so that the upgrades don't go so back and forth as to who has the power, and making it more incremental so that you go from being weaker than the enemy to being on an even playing field into being more powerful than the enemy. As I don't really have that much experience making 3D games, I'm probably going to use a lot of tutorials. So all the tutorials I'm going to use will pop up here on the screen, and I'm also going to have them linked down in the description. I have about 10 days in order to make this game and submit it to the game jam. So the only thing that's left is to get started. So about half the time that I have available to do the jam, the 10 days, has passed and I've done nothing. But it's fine. All that's left is to get started for real now. So let's get into it. To get started, I did some of the basics needed for any first-person shooter game, such as looking around, player movement, and as like any horror game would need, running. Now, after that, I went to add a gun. It would be essential for basically the whole game. So I'm not the best with 3D modeling, and I don't remember how to use Blender at all, so I decided to build it in Godot, just putting the different objects together, and it turned out okay. But after I had that, I needed something to shoot. So I had some enemies, and they did have some problems. I wanted to make it very basic that it would stop and jump towards you after like half a second. But they weren't really jumping properly. Eventually I figured it out, and then with that, I had the core of the game. I had a gun, I had an enemy. I could shoot. I could make something out of this. I spent some more time cooking and sprinkled on some additional features to the core, such as having some visuals for the ammo and having limited ammo, making sure more than one enemy work together, adding collectibles that would add new abilities so that you can get the progression of being like weak into more powerful, and then making the abilities themselves, or like gatekeeping some of the abilities that the player started off with to making them unlockable later on. Then I made this upgraded gun, which would basically trigger the last stage of the game where you were more powerful and could just shred through all of the enemies. Now with that, I think I would have everything needed to make the game itself. I just had to put everything together into a map, add some extra visuals on top, maybe some aesthetic additions, and of course, menus and sounds and so on. Now, although it might be important to finish the game loop and make a map and make it functional, or even add menus to navigate, I gotta make it look better. So I spent the next few hours adding HP indicators. I finished the model of the gun by adding some colors. I finished the model of the upgrades, and the most important model in the game, the enemy. As to why the enemy is a bee, when I was thinking about what to base the game around, what theme to give it, that would fit the setting and the sort of gameplay I was trying to induce, what made a lot of sense is to be sort of overwhelmed by many enemies while in enemy territory. So the plan for the game is for it to take place inside of a beehive where the character is trapped and has to exterminate the bees in its path in order to escape, gathering upgrades on the way in order to gain more power and become more efficient in doing so. And it'll start off with the bees being more of a threat to the player than the player is to them, to the player being able to exterminate them all with ease. Now that we have all the models done, I should probably make a map, finish the game loop, make it so that the game is actually playable. But I could also add some more effects and make it a little spookier. It's supposed to be a horror game after all. So I did some fog and a flashlight, the classics, and the cherry on top, some VFX. And now that I had the model for the enemy, I could even add a death screen. And since I still can't use Blender, I just like made it pop up on screen. Now to be honest, I've been delaying making the map because I don't know how. Plus, now that I had all the different pieces, I just couldn't even figure out how to make it fun. The game is supposed to be fun after all, it's a game. The morning after that, I drew up a sketch of what the map could look like, and it's good enough, Plus, I discovered how to turn cylinders into hallways. With this, all I need to do is spend a few hours placing them one by one and bam, I would have a map. Once the map was complete, I sprinkled in the objectives and some enemies, and the game was basically functional. The game loop was finished. But wait, listen to this. You hear that? Nothing. No sound. I can't ship a game with no sound. I got most of the sounds from a sound library that's free, that will also be linked down in the description. So I added all the sound effects, and now this is more what the game was like. After that, I added some menus and the cover art. The only thing that was left was to upload to itch.io, to wait for my fate and to see how it'd be ranked against all the other games in the jam. Is what I would have said if there wasn't an issue, because of course there's an issue. Now the issue that I faced was mouse capture. For whatever reason, whenever you would load the game in your browser, you would just not be able to move the mouse, and that's kind of essential for a first-person shooter. And I'll let my past self explain kinda what was going on. So this is how it goes. I have the game here. I load it, it loads, it loads, it loads. And it opens. Here's the main menu screen, looking nice. Now, if I click start, we're in. But I can move around, but I can't move the mouse. I can't move the mouse. Now, if I go into the settings, my mouse appears. Still can't move the mouse. Full screen it. Still can't move the mouse. Like, no matter what, I can't move the mouse. But if I go to the menu, I full screen from the menu, and then press start, it works. It's only, right now it's just loading thinking. It works. So like, I don't get it, I don't get it, I don't get it. And then, here's the best part. It works, everything's fine. Then, I open the menu, I close it, it no longer works. But then once again, I go to the menu, I unfull screen it, I re-full screen it, and then press start. Not working. But it's not working. And like, I don't get it. I don't get why it works sometimes, why it doesn't work sometimes. And like, I've been trying to fix it for the past like few hours because the deadline is like at midnight today. But like, I can't figure out why it works sometimes, why it doesn't work sometimes. Like, why doesn't it work? Like, what's wrong? Like, I literally use the same color. I don't know what changes. I don't know what changes from the situation, why I fold it. Like, you can't have an FPS without being able to move in the first person. So eventually I figured out a solution. It turned out that due to me using the unhandled movement as like a function, it would basically only capture the mouse if nothing else was using it. But whenever it was played in the browser itself used it, which means that it wouldn't capture the mouse. So I just had to change that simple script. But it took me hours to figure out on the final day, which means I couldn't add features I wanted, such as checkpoints. But eventually, after I switched it up and made it so it actively captured the mouse instead of like waiting for it to not be captured, I was able to turn it in. Now, everything done, all 5 days spent, nothing left. All I could do was wait to see how I did. It has been a few days and the Ducky streams just finished where he played all the games, and my game did not get played, which is fine. But when I was looking at the rankings, I got pretty mid rankings. Like, there were about, I think, 800 submissions, and for the most part, I was in the bottom half, which is okay. You know, overall, I guess the game was rated pretty mid. I think there were a lot of areas where I could have made it a lot better. And there were definitely areas that like right after, I'm like, oh yeah, I could have done this better, this better, this better, this better. But it's okay. We keep on learning and we keep on improving, and I'm probably going to keep joining game jams in the future, so I'll just get better. So thank you for watching. If you've never made a game before, I recommend joining a game jam. It's really fun. And if you want to play the game, it's linked down in the description. Bye.